Namaste everyone, it's the Chess Puzzler. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Today I am going to present second installment of King versus Pawn endings as described by the one and only Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan in his book Winning Chess Endings. We are going to cover three topics today. One is triangulation, the second one is pawn races, and the third one is the crooked path. Before we move ahead, I would like you to please like and comment on this video. Also, please subscribe on this video so that I can keep creating quality videos for you to improve your chess in this year. Additionally, please wait until the end of this video because I'm going to have a beautiful challenge ready for you to test your knowledge on whatever you learned today from this video. Let's start with the first one that we are going to call as triangulation. What makes king and pawn endings so complex is that when you add a few pawns to the position for both the sides, a whole new range of problems suddenly seem to pop up. This is not the case when you're in the opening or the middle game and so on. And in most cases, the superior side often wants to lose the tempo by passing. That means if it were legal for you to just pass a move and let the opponent make the move, which will put you in a position of advantage, that is what we would call as triangulation. Let's see how that's done. This illustration that we have on the screen is a very good example of triangulation. White has two connected passed pawns. Both are in a very magnificent place. Even if black king was on, say, g5, white pawns would be impregnable. You just could not capture it because they are that powerful right now. The f pawn would just rush to the queening square if black took the pawn on g4. White knows that with the aid of his king, right here on d3, promoting one of his pawns would be quite easy. The problem is the d4 pawn that black has right now. So if the white king just moves to support one of the one or both the white pawns, white is going to lose a lot of tempo and black would just simply promote. So white comes to a startling conclusion that black's king is overworked. Black wants to defend the pawn on d4, at the same time wants to attack the white pawns on f5 and g4. If only it were black's move, white could win easily by capturing the d4 pawn, right? Or by running one of these pawns over here. So white's goal in this case is for black to move. Although it's white to move right now, white wants to lose tempo such that it comes back in the same position, but the only difference would be that it would be black's turn to move and not white's. So white arranges the win of the pawn by triangulating with his king. He starts with king d2, which will be followed by something like king f6, because black has to keep an eye on this pawn, on the f pawn, because had black played something like king d5, then simply f6, king e6, and g5. So both the white pawns will keep marching, and eventually one of them will queen. So instead, to prevent that, black plays king f6, followed by king e2 and king e5. Black would love to play the same little dance as the white's king, but the e6 is guarded, right? So black cannot go to e6, so it had to come to e5, closer to the black's d4 pawn, and at the same time not going too far away from the white pawns. And now white will play king d3. White achieves the goal by utilizing the d2, e2, and the d3 squares, which is nothing but a triangulation. So white comes back to the same position where we started from, and in this case, it's black to move. That's exactly what white wanted. Now, black will have to move something like king d5, because if it goes to king d6, then white will simply capture the pawn. So black comes on d5, and we start marching our pawns ahead. king e6, and g5. White will now simply pick up the d4 pawn. It has both these pawns protected. G5 is not protected, but if black takes on g5, white will just simply move the f pawn and queen, and eventually winning the game. Let's delve into a bit more complex position to understand triangulation even better. Much to his regret, it's white's turn. If only it were black's move, black would have to retreat his king with king c8, and white could win brilliantly by playing king b6 and attacking the black's a pawn while guarding both the white pawns. And then you would be able to ensure the promotion of at least one of the pawns. But white has now, since white knows that by moving to king b6, it can win, white has to find a way to arrive at the same position only in such a way that it's black's move. So that black would have to go somewhere far away, leaving the b6 square for the white king to occupy. Let's see what white does. In this case, white starts with king d5 and king c8. Now king can move to c8 and it doesn't really have to guard the b6 square because king cannot jump directly in the next move. Had black played something like king d8, then simply king d6, king c8, and c7. White will have no difficulties promoting this pawn. So to avoid that, black plays king c8. The next move is king d4. What's this? White is stepping backward. Why? White's king is doing a little dance between the triangle of squares c4, d4, and d5 to win the opposition. Black can't do this dance with his king on the c7, c8, and d8 triangle of squares because the moment black plays something like king c7, the answer is revealed. The moment king plays c7, we'll play king c5, and then we are going to arrive at the same position that we started with black to move. So now black has very limited options. The best option that it can play is having distant opposition. I hope you remember what distant opposition means. And moving to king d8. White will continue with king c4, trying to grab the b6 pawn. Sorry, king c4, coming closer to c5, and therefore b6. Black will play king c8, and now we play king d5. Looks like the cat and mouse game is over. Black's only choice is which way to lose. And you'll see why. King comes to c7, and now we recreate the original position we saw on this board by playing king c5. If you remember, this is how we started, but it was white to move, but now since just white moved to c5, it's black to move. No matter where black goes, say king c5, king b6, b8, king takes, king c7, king b5, protecting both the pawns, king c8, a6, king b8, king c5, king c7, and a7. If black rushes to take our pawn on a, we can simply rush to the promoting square with the c pawn. All right, now let's look at one final example under the topic of triangulation. This one is extremely complicated, so please pay attention. White starts with king b1. Right? That's the only way to stop the a pawn from rushing to victory. Why? Let's see. If white played something like king c3, then a3, b4, king e5, king b3, king d5, king takes, king c6, king a4, and king b6. Now black king is not going to allow white king to come in front of the pawn, and therefore it's going to be a draw. To avoid this, white starts with king c1. Sorry, king b1. Black plays a3 because black has to try, right? If black plays something like king e6, e5, then king comes to a2, king d5, king a3, king c5, king takes, king b6, and king b4. Since white has the opposition, white can easily win the game no matter where black goes. White can simply flank and eventually protect all these three squares for the white pawn to pass through and promote. So to prevent this ending, black will play a3, which will be followed by b3. Now there's a challenge for you here. Can you determine why did white play b3 and not b4, or a takes on b b takes on a3? If you can figure it out, then please mention that in the comments section. This will be followed by king e5, king a2, king d5, king takes, king c6. Black is trying to lay a trap. Why? Because if white plays something like king b4, then black will play king b6 and gain the opposition, and therefore the game will be a draw. So to avoid that, white plays king a4, king b6, and now white has the opposition by playing king b4. Therefore, it's a win. With that, let's move on to our second topic of the day, which is pawn races. As we just saw, you often reach a king and a pawn ending in which both sides have the same number of pawns. In this case, positional factors are paramount. Consider the following: which side has the better placed king? Which side has a further advanced pawn? Which side has a doubled pawn or another type of structural weaknesses? So, in these examples to follow, white as usual will be the superior side. In this particular structure that we see on the board, what appears to be a complete draw is not really a draw. Neither king will be able to stop the opponent's pawn from queening when the game should be a draw. In such cases, which side queens first or queens with a check can make a crucial difference. In this case, white promotes his pawn first and is able to put this advantage to good use. Pay attention to how pawn races come to life and make living hell out of the opponent's king. White starts with f7, h2, and white queens, and so does black. Now, the best move after this for white is queen f3, king g1. If king had played something like king h2, queen g3 will be checkmate. So, obviously, to avoid that, black will play king g1, after which we are going to lay a beautiful trap to make this ending a nightmare for black. Queen goes to e3, king f1, king queen c1, king g2, queen d2, king f1, queen d1, king g2, queen e2, king g1. Did you notice that all these series of moves by black were all forced? But what has white gained, you ask? White is simply checking from all the different squares. Well, white has managed to bring his queen so close to the black's king. The queen has also moved away from the f3 square, avoiding a queen swap. And all of this has been done with tempo. Now, a finishing move over here would be king g3. Do you see it yet? It's a surprising finish. Despite the even material, black cannot prevent queen e1 checkmate without losing his queen. So this pattern is quite important and it's often seen in real games as well. So it's quite important to keep this one in mind. Being able to checkmate after both sides have promoted is a clever trick, but one that isn't necessarily common in victories that feature pawn races. Usually, one side tries to finesse the other player's king onto a square in such a way that the opponent might queen his pawn with check and thereby win the race. Now, this pattern that we see on the board right now is a really good study, which helps us realize that king takes on b7 and king b3 means that black is in a square of the white pawn, and the position seems to be as good as drawn. So, is there any way white can win? I can give you a hint. White can get black's king to step on the a3 to f8 diagonal. Why? Because that's where, on the a3 to f8 diagonal, because that's where the white pawn is going to queen. But how do we do that? How do we force black's king to step on a3 without having any other pieces with us? It starts with king d6. It intends to use his king to stop black's pawn, not to capture it, right? So we are going to stop this pawn from queening by capturing queen. We already studied that king can simply jump onto the square that we had studied last time, and with that, white may not be able to promote. So white is going to stop black pawn from queening, at the same time going to push for the white pawn to the promoting square. Okay, now black moves up because black has no choice. In case if black played something like b5, then king c5, king b3, and king takes on b5. Now, as you can see, white obviously is not so merciful, right? Because if black king comes too close to the pawn, then white may not have been able to capture it. So now white takes that opportunity and captures it. Because after this, king c5, because yeah, after this, black will play king c3, king c5, king d3, king d5, and white will be just in time to help white pawn reach the 8th rank. So to avoid all of this, black plays king a3, followed by king c5, king a4, and f4, b5, f5, b4, king c4. Again, white has the option of promoting first by simply playing f5, b3, f7, b2, and queening. And this can be continued by queen a8, king b3, queen b7, queen c2. But there is no glorious checkmate in this particular pattern. So instead, white plays king c4, followed by b3, king c3, king a3. Now, black king has to compulsorily follow wherever the pawn moves, because if not, then white king can simply capture. And now we push our pawn to f6, b2, f7. We have our queen, and so do we, but now we have check along with the promotion. So white is going to have all the tempo in this place, and white cannot, and black cannot go anywhere safe enough to prevent itself from checkmate. So this will be followed by something like king a4, because something like king a2 and queen a8 is really a very sad checkmate. So king moves to a4, queen a8, king b5, queen b7, and well, You can by now you must have already seen that if no matter where king goes, black queen will be sacrificed, and it's only a matter of time that white will checkmate the black king. With this, we have reached the final topic that we are going to discuss for this video, which is the crooked path. This is a very constant strategy that is prevalent in many king and pawn endings, which Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan refers to as the crooked path. In geometry lessons, I'm sure we must have learned that the shortest distance between 2 points, say this and f8, is always a straight line, right? But in chess, that's not the case. This might work against your intuitions and notions, but you need to train your mind to understand the straight path is not the only short path to reach the intended square. For example, if the white king is here on f3 and wants to reach f8, right? One of the ways it can do is by simply moving to f4, f5, f6, f7, and f8, which are 5 moves. But to your surprise, what if white plays something like king g4, f5, e6, f7, and f8? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's still 5 moves. How does it happen? Call it magic, but that's how it happens. You can take even one more option or one more way of finding this out. E4, f5, g6, g7, f8. It's still 5 moves. So even if the king takes a crooked path, reaching the destination is always possible in the same number of moves. We have two positions that illustrate the importance and the beauty of crooked path. The first one is right here in the screen. This had actually happened in a game played in Berlin in about 1921. White has to move across the board and gobble up the a7 pawn, and at the same time also has to promote the a6 pawn. If white simply marched to the pawn straight, then at the same time black can also reach this area and prevent white pawn from promoting or protect the a7 pawn from getting captured. So the game continues something like this: king e6, king c3. Now white makes a mistake of playing king d6, king d4, king c6, king e5, king b7, king d6, king takes on a7, and king c7. What do you see happened here? Can white king move anywhere on the b file? No, it cannot. Why? Because we have the black king sitting right here and he's not going anywhere. So the only place where white can actually move is a8, which will be followed by c8, then a7, c7, a8, c8, and it's going to be a draw. So what did white do wrong? The first move was all right. King e6 is fine. King c3, an obvious defense. But instead of playing king d6, white has to play king d5. Keep the black king out of this particular rank for as long as possible, so that white can keep marching towards the black pawn while making black lose tempo. So here, black will play king b4, king c6, king a5, king b7, king b5, and now king takes on a6, a7, king c6, king b8, and there's nothing that black king can do to stop this promotion. Another study that the Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan has introduced in this particular chapter, in this particular section of the chapter, is the one that you see on the screen right now. In this diagram, we see that white is impossibly placed if he wants to stop the h5 pawn from queening. Why? Because obviously white is behind the pawn and white simply cannot uh, catch up with the pace of the black pawn. Furthermore, the c pawn that white has is quite comfortably controlled by the black king. Why? Because we can see that the black king is inside of the square of the white pawn. So what can white really do in this position? It starts with king g7. White appears to be going through the motions of inexorable defeat, and black is just happy to push the pawn, say h4. Now we play king f6, king b6, trying to gobble up the white pawn, and this will be followed by king e5. Why? Because white actually has a double threat supporting his pawns at once in the next move itself, and at the same time stepping into the square of the king e5 and f4. So, yeah. So to escape the square, black moves to h3. If black had taken on c6, king f4. Now, as you can see, white king is inside the square of this particular pawn, and this game is going to be a draw. So king f4, h3, king g3, h2, and king takes on h2, and it's a draw. So to avoid a draw, black definitely wants to win because the pawn is so close. After h3, white will play king d6, h2, c7, h1 queens, and c8 also queens. And white still is able to draw the game. And finally, as promised, we have the challenge over here. I can give you a hint that this one is related to the pawn races. A few things leap out at you. First, you notice that black's king is boxed in, right? It cannot really go out. It cannot definitely come out to stop the g pawn. That's bad news. The good news is that white king is optimally placed to escort his own pawn to coronation. White king as well as the black king, because black rotates these three squares, and white cannot do really anything about it once the black pawn is moving. Now, how can white use this information to win the game? I want your answers in the comments section. Thank you. I hope you were able to learn a lot about king and pawn endings from this video. There will be at least one more installment of this particular topic, which is going to be king versus pawn part 3, in which we are going to cover a few more important concepts that Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan thinks that we should know in order to master our king and pawn endgames. If you like the video, then please show your love on this channel, subscribe to it, and also hit the bell icon so that you don't miss on the notifications every time I post a new video. It's the Chess Puzzler signing out.